in the league, even teams that don't have the cap space. It's funny how this league works, where you find ways to get cap space. But you could have gone anywhere, and yet, this is multiple times, you have chosen to stay in Milwaukee and play for the Bucks, and not only that, proudly represent that city and community. What is the reason why?
One of my, disadvantages, I'll say, that I'm very loyal. Even though you might hurt me or, do something to me, I always try to forgive you and see the best in you. And when you were there for me in the beginning, I'm there for you for the rest of our lifetime, and for the Milwaukee Bucks organization, they've been there with me since the beginning. They changed my life. They changed my family life. My kids were born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's what the passport says. My mom is here enjoying her life. My dad spent a couple of years here before he passed away. My brothers went to school here in a private school that, before I came here, I wasn't able to afford in my lifetime. My kids are going to a private school. They've changed my life tremendously. I'm extremely happy. I know the in and outs of the city. The city shows me a lot of love. And also whenever I go out there and have time with my family, they also give me space, which is crazy to me. When they see me on the street, they give me space. They respect me, who I am as a person, what I've done for the city of Milwaukee. And for that, I can't turn my back. Not now, not in the future, not never. And I want to be committed. I want to give back to the city of Milwaukee. We won one championship, but I believe that we can win a second one. And I'm going to try my best. I'm going to do what I always do, try to have fun while playing the game. And I hope I can create another parade in the near future that, 600,000 people, the whole Milwaukee can be out there celebrating, no matter the color of your skin, white, black, everybody was out there, celebrating something that happened after 50 years. So for me, I cannot take that lightly. I hope that we can do that again.
So it's what Bucks fans have pointed to all along. It's what Giannis has basically told us for the last few years, and he even joked about this at Media Day. Those comments I made in that interview over the summer with the New York Times to Ross Geiger on the 48 Minutes podcast, those are things that I say every year. And in the moment, in real time, it's easy to brush that under the rug and say, well, of course he's going to say that. He's not going to come out and say, yeah, I wasn't too sure. But Giannis has maintained, I say this every year. I tell that to the organization. It's no secret. It's no surprise to them. It's not as though John Horst heard me say that and thought, oh, shoot. We got to work on a package for Damian Lillard, otherwise Giannis is leaving. But that 2-minute answer that he gave, it's 2 minutes where if you have somebody that doesn't know anything about Giannis and just says, well, what kind of a guy is he? You play them that. And that is the Giannis that we have known for the last 10-plus years. The loyalty that he has to this organization, to people within the organization. Mention the 48 Minutes podcast. Ross Geiger was somebody that lived with him when he was a rookie moving here from Greece, knew nothing about the culture, nothing about Wisconsin, nothing about America. And this guy taught him how to drive a car, taught him how to go grocery shopping and do some other things. And Giannis has remained in contact with him. He's cited many times his loyalty to John Hammond, the general manager that drafted him. John Horst was a part of that and came up under John Hammond, so he has some loyalty to him as well. But loyalty is important to Giannis. And what we've kind of said all along is, look, I don't think it's naive to suggest Giannis is just different. I know it's a star league, and I know we see players jump from team to team, and I'm not here to say that that's right or wrong, but Giannis is just different. He likes it here. At Media Day, he gave a comment, too, of, look, why Milwaukee? Because I can raise my family here. You heard him say it there, too. I can go out in public. People know who I am, but they give me my space. Think about when he was at the Wisconsin State Fair after the Bucks won a championship. Sure, you'll get people saying, Giannis, can I get a picture? Can I get an autograph? But it's not swarming him and hounding him. It's all of these things that have just added up to, look, I know an outside perspective, you would say, well, that's just naivete. You just think because this guy is a generational talent, comes in, changes things for you, brings you your first championship in 50 years, because of all of that, you just don't want him to leave. But Giannis has essentially told us this all along. I want to stay here. I want to win. So if we can win, I will stay here. I'm not looking for reasons to leave. But at the same time, you got to do your end to make sure I'm making the right choice staying here. We've seen Giannis hold up his end of the bargain now 3 times with extensions that he signed. And this organization, time and time again, has done the same. A Drew Holiday trade 3 years ago. Now you bring in Damian Lillard as well. So some of the insights, Giannis the person, and why he felt this is the right move to sign this deal and remain in Milwaukee with the Bucks. 855-616-1620 is the number to join us tonight on this season preview edition of Bucks Weekly. We will get to your thoughts, but when we come back, Bucks play the Philadelphia 76ers tomorrow night at Fiserv Forum. It is a matchup that when the schedule came out carried a lot more significance. And then a lot of things happened over the summer that changed the outlook of the Eastern Conference. So when we come back, a look at that Eastern Conference and the addition of Damian Lillard. What does it mean for the Bucks? We'll chat with Ben Golliver of the Washington Post after this. You're listening to our season opener show on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
This is Bucks Talk. The season preview is Bucks Talk. The season preview show.
Hey, this is the Fat Jack, and what a weekend it was. Did you bet last week? 6-2 on Saturday, a perfect 5-0 Sunday, 11-2 weekend. Guys, everybody made money again last week. Go to FatJackSports.com. The NBA season is now underway. You can make money betting these games. The plays are text to your cell phone or email to you, and they will make you money this year. Get everything through November for less than $100 a week. We were 11-2 last week. It's going to be another great weekend. Go to FatJackSports.com to win.
Take it to the house this season and enjoy tailgating from your own backyard. Tito's wants to make sure you have the best tailgate on the block. You can win game day gear for your next gathering by entering to win at Tito'sTailgate.com. Be sure to enter by November 15th for your chance to win a Solo Stove Grill, a Brewmate back tap for batch cocktails, or a Tito's football jersey. For official rules, visit Tito'sTailgate.com. Must be 21 years old to enter. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
It's time for the Ortho ASAP Minute from Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin.
Dr. Rick Papandrea is joining me. How special is it for you being able to watch people see their quality of life return?
There's no doubt that the efficiency is great for everybody. It's very rewarding as a surgeon to take care of somebody and see them get better. But to have them come in and do it in a seamless fashion is really exciting. One case comes to mind. We had a young girl who was doing some cartwheels, and she came in with a broken elbow, and everything lined up, maybe more so than even is typical. She needed special care. She needed her elbow fixed with a very particular fracture that is difficult to fix. And not only is it difficult to fix, but it can be somewhat complicated by stiffness. So with my specialty of my background, I do a lot of elbow arthroscopy, which isn't very common. And we had her in the operating room later that day where I was able to arthroscopically reduce and fix her elbow fracture. And she was back to a normal kid about 2 months later.
The Ortho ASAP Minute is sponsored by Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
Rolling right along here as we continue on the season preview edition of Bucks Weekly, getting you set for tip-off tomorrow night between the Bucks and the 76ers. And to help us take a look at not just that matchup, but really the Eastern Conference as a whole, as I know it's his favorite conference, your friend and mine. You can read his work on the Washington Post. You can listen to him on the GOAT NBA podcast with Andrew Sharp. He is a friend of the program, Ben Golliver. Ben, I'm going to start with a guy that you know very well, having covered the Portland Trail Blazers in the past. Damian Lillard, obviously the big story here, ending up in Milwaukee. So let's go back about a month ago. Your reaction when you saw not only was Damian Lillard traded, but he went to the Milwaukee Bucks instead of the Miami Heat.
Well, it was a very exciting moment. I mean, everybody was breathing a huge sigh of relief that it was done. You know, being a Portland native, I've had a lot of people who felt like they were just in limbo for like 3 months. And I'm not sure you guys even felt that way. He just landed in your lap. You know, the whole league is sitting around saying, where's Damian Lillard going? And all of a sudden he's right there on the shores of Lake Michigan. I love the fit from the opening minute. Just, you know, having covered the Blazers for, you know, really the first half of Lillard's career, there's so many personality comparison points between him and Giannis in terms of steadily trying to build out their game, really being family focused, really wanting to, you know, just kind of be as undramatic as possible off the court. And that was what was so annoying to, I think, to a lot of Blazers fans about this trade saga. It was very out of character for Damian Lillard, and he had been there for 11 years and really never said a peep. And you started to hear Giannis kind of rustle the feathers a little bit this summer. I think there was a shared urgency from both those players that maybe they didn't realize that they were, you know, kind of complaining in such a way that it was going to bring them each together. But it certainly worked out that way. And, you know, Lillard seems like he's been, you know, making fast friends with Giannis on the court. Giannis calls him, you know, a little version of me, which, you know, I could see that comment coming a mile away. And I think it's going to make Milwaukee's offense much more interesting. It's going to stretch their depth a little bit. I think it's going to stretch their perimeter defense as well. It's going to be a new look Bucks team. But I feel like guys like you and Bucks fans are some of the biggest winners of the offseason because it hadn't gotten completely stale with that previous group. But it was time, you know, maybe for something different. There weren't a lot of clear avenues to really do a big shakeup. A player like Drew Holiday is typically hard to trade to be able to get back fair value. And here in this case, I think they got back a much better offensive player, a better overall player, and somebody who has a lot of playoff experience, late game shot making experience, the kind of stuff that Milwaukee has really lacked since the title run. So I feel like you should be considered a winner of the offseason. Do you feel like one?
Well, it was an interesting offseason. And I think if we start with Giannis's comments in the New York Times, and then again on that podcast with Ross Geiger, I took those comments as Giannis basically saying, I feel good with this group. I think, and it's debatable, I think we can win a title with these other three guys. And if this is the makeup, but those comments were more of a, what's plan B and what's the plan in 2 years? Because we ran it back this year. We can't do that again in 2 years with Drew's age, with Brooks' age, certainly. And with maybe Chris is slowing down. So that's what I took that as. And for the Bucks to be able to pull Damian Lillard for those assets that you mentioned, I mean, it's very similar to how John Horst has done things in the past too, that I think after that exit in the bubble, which you were there for, everybody started to point to, well, you got to do something with Bledsoe. Drew Holiday would make a whole lot of sense, but I think Bucks fans thought, I just don't see how the Bucks have the assets. And here they trade George Hill and Bledsoe and bring in Drew Holiday. And here it's basically the same thing all over again, it feels like.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, lots of parallels between the original Holiday trade and then the Lillard trade. I think when you have a team whose core is composed of really high character, team first type of players, and I look at Giannis, Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton all fitting that statement, right? The risk isn't that team blows up in some spectacular fashion and Kevin Durant's leaving the Golden State Warriors and Kyrie Irving is leaving the Brooklyn Nets. The real peril, if you're a front office, is that you buy into your group of kind of good guys, team first guys for too long. And instead of blowing up, they just kind of sputter and fade away a little bit. Oh, here's another first round exit. Oh, here maybe is a second round exit. And then all of a sudden you're looking up and Giannis is saying, well, I need to get back to a team that can really go the distance. And that's how things would change. What I loved about the Lillard trade, it's a big bet, right? And the Drew Holiday trade, the original one, was a pretty good sized bet as well. When you're looking at the assets and just, you know, if it doesn't work out, you know, you're gonna be in a tough spot from an asset standpoint and a franchise standpoint. But it was a proactive one, right? Like they're not sitting around just hoping Giannis is going to be okay. Hey, let's win 50 games again. Maybe Adrian Griffin's better in the playoffs than Bud was, and now you're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals and Finals. Everything is going to be great. This was the front office, you know, really living up to what I think Giannis was asking for and saying, we're going to go out of our way to get you a huge talent infusion. And I was there when Lillard was playing with LaMarcus Aldridge. And, you know, I was in those media boxes with you in 2020 and even 2019 when Giannis and Chris Middleton are, tearing through the league and in some cases tearing through the playoffs too. No disrespect to LaMarcus Aldridge, no disrespect to Chris Middleton. Giannis is the best player Dame's ever played with by a lot, and I think Dame is the best and most talented player that Giannis has ever played with. And the fact that they have so similar personalities and outlooks on life, the fact that Lillard needs his first title and Giannis badly wants a second one. He even, one comment he made this summer that got overlooked, he's like, you can't compare me to Akeem until I get 2 titles. I love that mentality from Giannis. It's the kind of thing that very thoughtful basketball minds would put together. And so he wants somebody to help him be that next Akeem. And maybe the Lillard trade winds up being kind of like the Drexler trade was for the Rockets in the mid-'90s, where it kind of help pushes them over and grab another ring. We'll see. But great proactive move by the front office. And I got to give credit to the Celtics, too. Being able to be the highest bidder on Holiday when they're not overwhelmed with assets just sitting around, when they have huge contract commitments already made to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, to be willing to take on Drew Holiday with the knowledge they're probably going to extend him on a pretty big number. That's a bold move by them. It sets up this arms race between the two teams. And to me, it's like the leading storyline heading into this NBA season.
I do want to get to that fit and really what we perceive to be the showdown between the Bucks and the Celtics. Dame, certainly the best player that Giannis will have played with, although I think your partner would attest to MarJon Beauchamp has a chance to be a close second there. He's the guy, in jokes aside, that there's a lot riding on because, for so long, the Bucks, by way of those trades that we referenced, their assets were gone. When they did hold on to the pick, it was in the 25 to 30 range. That year after year after year of doing that, they didn't have a chance to develop any young guys. Dante DiVincenzo was basically it since Malcolm Brogdon. And I'm not suggesting MarJon Beauchamp, as a lot of Bucks fans are, is going to be an all-star or a starter immediately here. But there are some nice pieces in terms of young guys that the Bucks have developed through the preseason. But MarJon Beauchamp's going to be big because I think we've kind of tiptoed around this roster is getting very old very quickly here, that it's basically just Giannis, that, Dame is older than him. Chris is in his 30s. Brooke is in his mid 30s, that at some point you kind of have to start to pivot to getting younger too.
Well, so one thing I think that you guys are going to really appreciate about Dame is that he can carry a huge burden. Now, again, I think there's this conversation around him of, he was disgruntled, he was unhappy, he's pushing his way out of Portland. The real narrative there is he gave that organization everything he possibly could have. They just kept hitting a wall. They didn't, they made a lot of trades that were aimed at the future. They weren't building around him, in the quote unquote right way, the same way that Milwaukee's trying to build around Giannis right now. They never swang the big deal and got him, a real talent infusion. And he did not complain really until about the last 6 months of this. He was a good soldier the whole way through. He can take a huge burden on his shoulders, just like Giannis has. And Giannis has been through every stage of the growth cycle with the Bucks. So now you have two guys together with broad shoulders that can take a big, can manage a big lift, and they can share it together. And I think that that's actually going to reduce the pressure more than a lot of people seem to think right now on some of those supporting cast members, because these guys can combine for 60 a night, every night, as long as they're healthy. They can go out there and do that. And so, taking a step back in terms of if you're the Bucks, I think you got to feel great about where Giannis is in his life cycle. I think you have to actually feel really good about Lillard too. He's had some injury issues these last couple of years, but I tend to agree with him. His game's going to age pretty well. The two guys you have to be concerned about, of course, are Chris and Brooke. That's really where you're going to feel the age. Brooke had an amazing bounce back season last year. I didn't see that coming. Chris, it's just kind of like a who knows deal. And I think when I'm looking at X factors in the Eastern Conference, I look at Porzingis in terms of how he fits in with with Boston, because he's such a strange player, just in terms of body type and size and skill set. And he's been clashing with star players in the past, and it really hasn't worked out too well. But this seems like a better fit for him in Boston. And then I look at Middleton, because this Dame trade can go as well as it could possibly go, right? You could get a great season from Brooke, Beauchamp, and all these other guys you guys want to hail as like the next rising Bucks generation.
Andre Jackson Jr. too. Don't leave him out.
Well, I actually scouted him in college because he was in the West Regional, and I mean they had an amazing tournament run. Yeah. I love that kid's game, and I was actually hyping him up back in March, so it was a great landing spot for him in Milwaukee from my standpoint. But look, you're not going to be typically winning finals games with rookies, right? Like Christian Braun was like the biggest exception to the rule last year for Denver, coming through and playing as well as he did. And that's why I think next to Porzingis, Middleton is the biggest X factor in the entire league this season. What's his body like? Can he shift into that third role? Can he give you good defensive minutes? Most importantly, against Tatum and Brown, because you got to be able to guard those guys if you're going to make the NBA Finals. And that's a lot to ask Chris. And we just don't know where his body is. Feels like we've been saying that for 2 years straight now.
All right, we'll step aside for a quick second here. We'll pick things back up with Ben Golliver after this. It's Bucks Weekly, the season preview edition on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
What are we having for dinner? At Cousin Subs, we have a simple answer for this age-old question. A family 4-pack, of course. Now at participating Cousin Subs locations, you can get any 4 classic or deli fresh subs or subs in a bowl and 4 chips or regular fries for the limited time only price of $30 plus tax after 4 p.m. You heard that right. Feed your entire crew for just $30. Order in store at cousinsubs.com or via our app. Cousin Subs, we believe in better.
Bucks basketball is back. A new era tips off with Coach Griffin at the helm, alongside returning favorites and exciting new additions. It's Dame time, Milwaukee. Don't miss a moment of the action. From the electrifying slam dunks to the roar of 18,000 fans, all unfolding live at Fiserv Forum. Secure your seats now. Visit bucks.com/tickets and join us for an unforgettable season of Bucks basketball. There's a seat waiting for you at Fiserv Forum. Secure yours now at bucks.com/tickets.
One call, that's all. It's not just a slogan, but a way of life at Gruber Law Offices. If you've been injured, call our team today. We've represented tens of thousands of injured Wisconsinites for well over 30 years. Trust Wisconsin's own Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. And now is the best time to take advantage of a great offer like this.
For a limited time, get 3.9% special APR rate for up to 60 months on new 2023 Defenders at Land Rover Waukesha. Go to LandRoverWaukesha.com.
Tired of power outages disrupting your life? Make them a thing of the past by getting a Generac home standby generator from Adams Generators. Adams Generators is the largest and #1 rated Generac dealer in Wisconsin. With 24/7 emergency support, our factory-trained technicians are standing by to assist you. Visit adamspower.com/generators to make sure your power always stays on. That's adamspower.com/generators.
Hey, this is Ben Brust from Kyle Brust and Nortman on ESPN Wisconsin. People can't stop screaming about the Screamin' Sicilian frozen pizza, and no wonder. There's plenty to scream about, like the buttery stone-fired crust, secret recipe tomato sauce, mounds of whole milk mozzarella, and tons of premium toppings. Find Screamin' Sicilian in your local grocer's freezer and find out for yourself why Sport called Screamin' Sicilian's Holy Pepperoni frozen pizza the best of the best. Screamin' Sicilian, taste what all the screamin' is about.
You're listening to Bucks Talk, the season preview.
It is the season preview edition of Bucks Weekly, continuing here on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee. We're joined by Ben Golliver of the Washington Post and the GOAT NBA podcast. And Ben, let's get back to Chris Middleton, the guy that we just touched on a little bit. You called him one of the biggest X factors in the NBA. And look, we only saw him one game this preseason, but is it just me? Am I crazy here? Or is this trade to bring in Damian Lillard, does this buy Chris Middleton a little more leeway? In other words, the Bucks can be more cautious with him and take their time. And not only that, you're lowering the ask of what you need from him offensively. Whereas if you kept this group as is, you would tell Chris, look, we need you to be that guy that you were in the 2021 playoffs.
No, it's a great point, and I think that they can win the title this year, and it actually looks totally different for Chris than it did during the title year. Remember, he was playing alpha at times during that playoff run, and I really hated the conversation that popped up at 21 about is it Chris's team or Giannis's team? It's like, God, can we stop being mouth breathers, guys, and just try for 1 second to give Giannis his credit, right? But there was a lot of big shots, ball in Chris's hand. You have to go create fourth quarter offense. He's hitting these tough twos, turnarounds. I think if they win the title this year, his role is going to look a lot more like Mikal Bridges in Phoenix, right? Where he's a clear-cut third option. He's not a full 3-and-D because he's got so much mid-range game that you don't ever want to kind of coach that out of him. But it's much more important, I think, this year for him. His responsibilities are defensively more than offensively because he will be the third cut or clear-cut third scorer. And this is going to be a big gap. I really think Dame's going to come out there and average close to 30. I think Giannis is going to be right around 30. And so for Chris, you might settle in at 15, 16 points a game. We know he could do a lot more than that. And maybe he still will. I mean, maybe they're going to be so electric and they're scoring points at a rate that we haven't seen in the past that he's still getting up close to 20. And if so, you might have 3 All-Stars on the team, right? But I don't think that part is as important for him. Like you said, you could take it slow. You can ease his offensive burden. And you can just make sure that, he can focus, I think, a little bit more attention defensively than he had to during that title run.
There is one clear-cut name that has started to circulate around here, at least prevailingly by Bucks fans. And
guys are getting thirsty. Yeah, who is it?
I'll point out too before I tell you the name that they have a pretty good track record of willing things into existence with Drew Holiday, with PJ Tucker, and now with Dame. But Dorian Finney-Smith has been the guy that you've seen more and more of, man, what would it cost for us to get him? And if Brooklyn's somewhere in the low 30s and just decides, let's just keep rebuilding this thing, what would be the cost to get Dorian Finney-Smith? Because on paper, he seems like the perfect fit.
Yeah, well, the tricky part there is Sean Marks is like king of basketball dorks right now because he's got Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson. He's like collected all these. If Ben Simmons has a good year, he's going to be riding so high with all these guys that the internet loves. I actually really like Dorian Finney-Smith. And this is a hot take, but I made the case that if I was the Mavericks trying to win a title, I would rather have Dorian Finney-Smith than Kyrie Irving if you're just trying to build a winner in terms of who fits better with Luka Doncic. And so, I mean, he would be a perfect low usage, versatile defensive piece around, the stars, both Giannis and Dame. I would do that in a heartbeat. And especially if you compare that to the guys you were plugging in last year, whether it was Crowder, Grayson Allen, whoever else you're putting in that spot, man, huge upgrade. And Dorian Finney-Smith could give Tatum some trouble. You're not going to limit Tatum, right? You're not going to cut him off and hold him to 12 points a game in the playoffs. You just can't have him going crazy like he did in that 22 playoffs where he's just putting up 40 points and nobody's guarding him. And now all of a sudden Al Horford's hitting 3-pointers and the Celtics offense is going red hot and playing above its head. You just have to have somebody who can kind of keep Tatum right around the 20 to 28 range. And if you can do that, you got a good chance.
And Grant Williams just hit another 3, carrying over
right
7 of that series too. So those two teams, and the thing is, it was the same conversation last year that we went into the season and said the Bucks and the Celtics are the clear favorites here. It's obviously different this year when you look at what they've both added. So I don't have any hesitations there. But comparing these two teams, and you're in a safe space here, that if you think the green beer drinkers are set up better, you could say that. But when you look at the makeup of these two teams, where do you really see the strength and the advantage between the two?
Well, first of all, I think it's been either one of these two teams in the Eastern Conference Finals for 7 straight years. That's awesome, right? It's like we talk about the rivalries from the 80s, and it's like, oh, it has to be something like the Celtics and the Lakers where they're meeting 4 times in the finals. I guess, if these teams are going this deep, this frequently, and they meet in the Eastern Conference Finals again, this year will be their 4th meeting, I think, of the last 8 years in the playoffs. Sounds like a rivalry to me. I think we should stoke all that rivalry talk, and I don't want to hear the previous generation saying, oh, it's not a real rivalry. It's like, well, I bet Jason Tatum looks over at Giannis's MVPs and championship ring and says, oh, I'd like a little piece of that. And I'm sure Giannis has got some pretty, hard feelings from how some of these recent series against the Celtics have gone too. So I'm all in. Let's make this as big of a rivalry as possible. I think in terms of the rosters and where they're at today, I slightly favor Boston over Milwaukee. The reason why I think that they have a better 5-man group, the big question for them is, can Porzingis close playoff games? Against Milwaukee, when Milwaukee's so big, there's a chance they're going to have to play 2 bigs. That's going to keep Porzingis on the court, but Boston's going to be able to have really good spacing, even if they play both Horford and Porzingis together. I just think if you take Porzingis off in those scenarios and it's Horford, Tatum, Brown, White, and Holiday, I think that's the best defensive 5 any team has for the playoffs across the entire league, right? And so that's kind of why I give them the edge. I think for Milwaukee, there's still questions about Middleton, still questions about the 5th guy. What exactly is that best lineup going to look like in the playoffs? But I still have trust in the ageless Brook Lopez. I still have faith in Middleton. I've been fighting the good fight on his behalf for a decade, so I'm not going to give up now. And I think I'm higher on the Giannis-Dame pairing probably than almost anybody, and mostly because I think this is exactly what Dame's been looking for his entire career, to land with a squad that has such a big and physical and long front line that he just never had in Portland to kind of help cover up for his defense. So slight edge to Boston, but I like what I said earlier. I don't think this is going to be settled from a roster standpoint till February. I think there's going to be some changes, some tweaks, and there could easily be a pickup on one side of this that swings the balance, in my opinion.
Last thing for you here with Ben Golliver. We've spent so much time talking about the Bucks and the Celtics. I think a lot of us right now would be shocked if somebody other than those 2 teams came out of the Eastern Conference, but who's lurking out there for you? If I told you there's a 3rd team that's going to come on strong, who would you choose?
Only Miami. Miami is the only team, and they're only in out of respect to Spo and Jimmy and Bam and what they've done these last 5 years. No chance for Philly. No chance for Cleveland. They're not a playoff team. No chance for the Knicks. Sorry to the Bing Bang Bong guys. Not going to happen. The net result of this summer is that the rich got richer in the East and the gap widened between the top 2. And Miami probably feels like the odd team out because they wanted Lillard and didn't get him. But they could also make another trade of consequence by the deadline for sure. And they also have just the defensive grinding mentality and the experience and the core guys. And they have their own closer in Jimmy Butler, where they're going to be a problem for any team they match up with. So I would have them they're probably not going to be the 3 seed. They're probably going to be the 6 seed again, right? But I think they're the 3rd most likely team to win the East after Boston and Milwaukee.
All right, read his work in the Washington Post. Listen to him on the GOAT NBA podcast, which he hosts several times a week with Andrew Sharp. Ben Golliver, always good to catch up with you.
You too, man. Take care.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
The Bog in Saukville is Ozaukee County's best golf experience. 18 championship holes designed by the legendary golfer Arnold Palmer, settled amongst 250 acres of beautiful private land. The Bog caters to golfers of all skill levels, offering a golf experience unlike any other. Come enjoy the finest golf greens in Wisconsin, and after your round, enjoy a bite to eat in our restaurant or out on our new patio bar overlooking the 18th green. It's time to golf, Wisconsin. It's time to enjoy the Bog.
Hey, the future of joint pain relief is right here in Milwaukee. It's QC Kinetics, advanced regenerative medicine, and it's amazing. Hey, it's Greg Matzik. If you've been told more steroids or surgery are your only options, don't be so fast. Get a second opinion and learn more about how you can harness your own body's healing agents to attack that joint pain. I'm talking lasting relief. QC Kinetics doesn't mask the pain. These treatments go to the very root of the problem, using concentrated healing properties placed directly in your joint to restore and repair that damaged tissue. Imagine living your life this fall with no more pain in your knees, your hips, your shoulder, or your back, with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Hey, life is all about motion, and QC Kinetics is giving people their lives back with these all-natural treatments. Call the local medical professionals and get a free consultation today. QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. Call 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Again, 414-285-3474.
Hey, Milwaukee, we make it easy. If you're shopping for a new vehicle, don't miss Ewald Automotive's Model Year Closeout Sales Event. Save on remaining 2023s and get the lowest prices of the year. Shop over 400 new vehicles with savings up to $10,000. All backed by our low price guarantee and exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. 11 brands, 10 locations, one easy experience. Go to EwaldAuto.com.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
Many thanks, Ben Golliver, for his time. We'll peel the curtain back a little bit. You may think, why did the video disappear and we just see this image of Ben Golliver? I had to tape it with him earlier because he is at the debut of Victor Wembanyama, which we will get to a little bit later on. So we taped and we talked for about 45 minutes. So we are going to podcast the entire interview, just where you can find this entire show as well. So be on the lookout for that. A lengthy chat with Ben Golliver, more than you heard there. He mentioned the teams he's not buying into in the Eastern Conference, and it's basically everybody but the Bucks and the Celtics. I think that is what gives you a little bit of pause and hesitation of, you know, the saying about best laid plans. And last year it was the Bucks and the Celtics, the clear-cut two favorites. Look how that turned out. They both lost to the Miami Heat. So it was kind of why earlier this offseason, the Bucks acquired Damian Lillard, and we get to take this victory lap that the Bucks are the clear-cut favorites right now, at least in the Eastern Conference. Then a couple of days pass, and Jrue Holiday is in Boston with the Celtics. And it shifts to, well, actually, the Celtics are the favorite. And I know we talked about this on Bucks Weekly. I talked about it on other shows. It doesn't matter who's perceived as the favorite right now. The Bucks were not the favorites in the Eastern Conference in 2018 when Bud first arrived. We were talking about it would be great if the Bucks could have home court advantage in the first round. Same thing that's happening with the Oklahoma City Thunder now, by the way. The Warriors weren't the title favorites 2 years ago. The Denver Nuggets were not the title favorites. They were a favorite, but they were not the title favorites this past season. It never works that way. These rosters change. One of the things we talked about as well, for how late these moves came, Jrue Holiday and Damian Lillard, your teams are not fully assembled. They are in terms of where you were at that point in the offseason. There's not much more you can do, but there is going to be tinkering that's done. And if we've learned one thing about this new CBA, because I think that was the hesitation of, yeah, but it hasn't exactly played out as we thought. Because what was the narrative when we started to see some of the details of this CBA? It was, well, so much for super teams. Damian Lillard and Giannis are on the same team now. Jrue Holiday has joined the Home Depot skeleton Kristaps Porzingis and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Bradley Beal ended up in Phoenix. So there's a lot we thought would happen in the CBA that has been the opposite. So we'll take a look at that. And also, one of those teams that we spent a lot of time talking about, they are in action right now. We will give you an update on the Celtics debut for Jrue Holiday. More after this. It is the season preview edition of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
Hey, it's ESPN Wisconsin's Ben Brust. Men can be their own worst critics, especially as we get older and compare our current self to the younger version. The experts at Forward Healthy Lifestyles in Germantown help men with testosterone optimization, regenerative medicines, heart health screenings, weight loss, and yes, sexual enhancement services. Forward Healthy Lifestyles can offer regained energy and endurance, more muscle and tone, enhanced performance, joint therapies, and more. Change your life and stop comparing who you are now to who you used to be. Visit forwardhealthylifestyles.com for a free consultation.
Stay up to date on the green and gold all season. The Green and Gold Fix podcast is brought to you by Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Luxury stay, elite play, unwind in sophisticated comfort. Win big, dine, and experience the events in Milwaukee.
Golden Mast Inn, family owned and operated in beautiful lake country. Have it all at the lake. Beautiful lakeside weddings and ceremonies. Year-round beauty. Golden Mast Inn is a great place. Enjoy lakeside dining featuring hand-cut steaks, fresh seafood, small plate menu, and German family specialties. Unwind after work in the Lakeside Cocktail Lounge. Happy hour Tuesday through Thursday with half-off drinks 4:30 to 6. Live music Friday and Saturday nights in the lounge. The Golden Mast Inn, your wedding place on the lake. Visit goldenmastin.com.
It's Chevy truck season, and with a Chevy Silverado, there's no such thing as an uphill battle. With a Chevy Silverado, you can take on the mountains, or you can move them. Because with impressive towing capability, an available 13.4-inch diagonal touchscreen, and the choice of powerful engines to pick from, whatever your mountain, there's a Silverado with the capability you need. Visit WisconsinDriveChevy.com.
All right, Team Pella, listen up.
Thanks, John Kuhn. Customers love our products with limited lifetime warranties. Check out these big plays. Incredible innovations like blinds and shades between the glass.
No interference on that play, Coach.
And stylish windows with hidden screens that make game days a breeze.
Can it get any better?
It can. With monthly payments as low as $19 per window, $75 per patio door, and a free quote at PellaWI.com.
Let's go.
Whether you're looking to replace older damaged windows and doors or just wanting to revamp the look of your home, Pella offers a wide range of styles and materials to match your home's unique design. Hurry! Take advantage of monthly payments as low as $19 per window and $75 per patio door at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Get your free quote today at PellaWI.com.
6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers on 10/31/2023.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
This is one of the hosts of the Locked On Bucks podcast, and Chad Doing from 620 Rip City Radio in Portland. He has covered Damian Lillard's entire career, so he will fill us in on not only some of the details of Dame's game, which by now I think we're all aware of, but also Damian Lillard off the court and the person that the Bucks are getting here in the community. So we'll catch up with Chad in about 30 minutes from now. One score that I think has everybody's attention to get you caught up on is tonight is the first big night of the NBA season in terms of volume of games. They are midway through the second quarter. The Boston Celtics look very good. Up 11 on the Knicks, 37-26. And our old pal Drew Holiday, 5 points on 2 of 3 shooting, but it has been Kristaps Porzingis, the story so far. 15 points in 11 minutes. We'll take a step out here. We'll wrap up hour number 1. It's the season preview of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
You're listening to Bucks Talk, the season preview.
What are we having for dinner? At Cousin Subs, we have a simple answer for this age-old question. A family 4-pack, of course. Now at participating Cousin Subs locations, you can get any 4 classic or deli fresh subs or subs in a bowl and 4 chips or regular fries for the limited time only price of $30 plus tax after 4 p.m. You heard that right. Feed your entire crew for just $30. Order in store at cousinsubs.com or via our app. Cousin Subs, we believe in better.
For over 4 decades, one name has stood out as a symbol of excellence in automotive sales and service. It's the Boucher Automotive Group, dedicated to providing exceptional experiences to all of our valued customers.
We will help you find the perfect vehicle within your budget while respecting your time.
With 20 convenient locations, we're the one-stop destination for all your automotive needs.
At Boucher, we're your trusted partner on every mile of your journey. Riding with you every mile since 1977.
Check out our brand new Hyundai dealership, one of the largest in the Midwest.
Step inside of our state-of-the-art showroom where you can view our new Hyundai models and some of our finest certified pre-owned.
We've also expanded our service center, staffed by our factory-certified technicians.
And right next door, we've started construction on our all-new Genesis of Waukesha dealership.
But we're not just building walls, we're building careers.
So if you're looking for a career with great benefits and opportunity for growth, Boucher is the place for you.
At Boucher, we ride with you every mile.
Hi everyone, John Miller here from PDS, a Converge company. PDS has been providing technology solutions and transforming IT for area companies for over 30 years. Today, we are helping organizations integrate digital workplace strategies that are giving today's worker the true ability to work from anywhere as they balance work and life both securely and productively. And as HP's largest partner in the area, our combined solutions have never been more important. If you're struggling with this, know we stand ready to help. From ideation to transformation, we can help you evolve your work from anywhere strategy. Learn more at pdsit.net.
Bucks basketball is back. A new era tips off with Coach Griffin at the helm, alongside returning favorites and exciting new additions. It's Dame time, Milwaukee. Don't miss a moment of the action. From the electrifying slam dunks to the roar of 18,000 fans, all unfolding live at Fiserv Forum. Secure your seats now. Visit bucks.com/tickets and join us for an unforgettable season of Bucks basketball. There's a seat waiting for you at Fiserv Forum. Secure yours now at bucks.com/tickets.
True Chicago-style pizza is thin, crispy, and cut into squares. And thanks to Connie's Frozen Pizza, you can enjoy a true slice of the city. You'll enjoy it so much you won't even mind where it comes from. Connie's Frozen Pizzas are made from the same cornmeal crust Connie's has been serving for over 60 years. They're perfectly cheesy, perfectly saucy, and they're exactly what you crave. Get to know the true Chicago style with Connie's Frozen Pizza. Born in Chicago, loved by cheeseheads. Available in a freezer aisle near you.
Bucks Talk, the season preview show continues.
Run away and hide. Maybe I'm stupid and you're messing with me just for a laugh. But rather my head was in the clouds and stick my teeth in the grass.
Coming up in about 5 minutes from now, Camille Davis, one of the hosts of the Locked On Bucks podcast and the Technical Foul podcast, will join us, share her thoughts on tomorrow's opener. We do know James Harden will not be in Milwaukee, so we'll preview that matchup. And later on in hour number 2, Chad Doing of Rip City Radio in Portland will give us the lowdown on Damian Lillard. Celtics still up 37-28 in the game that has the most eyeballs here in this early slate of games on this second day of the NBA season. But you had the 2 games last night. No Eastern Conference teams featured in those. 12 games tonight, and a lot that packs some intrigue. Obviously, we get to see Drew Holiday and his new team in the Celtics. A all-youth matchup between the Magic and the Houston Rockets. And later on tonight, the debut of Victor Wembanyama when the Spurs host the Dallas Mavericks. So a lot of games to get you caught up on in hour number 2. That hour comes your way after this. It's the season preview of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
Change your grocery game plan to locally owned Century Foods, home of the best meat, freshest produce, and tastiest treats. Now through Wednesday, save on 46 to 48 ounce selected varieties Blue Bunny ice cream, 2 for $8. 10.5 to 16 ounce selected varieties Kohl's garlic toaster bread, 2 for $6. 7 to 15 ounce selected varieties Rana pasta or sauce, 2 for $7. 2 liter bottles selected varieties Super Chill soda, 4 for $5.
Let's see. Spices. Cardamom? Hibiscus powder. It's like looking at Green Bay's roster right now. I don't recognize it, but I'll learn to love it.
Attention Century shoppers. You're going to love this opportunity. Win 2 tickets to see Green Bay play Kansas City on December 3rd. Autographed Packers footballs or 4 packs of Hall of Fame tickets.
I'd love to see Green Bay's new QB in action and win those tickets. What do I do?
Find the weekly code on Century's Facebook or Instagram and enter to win.
Love it. Getting the Century code on Insta right now.
Ends November 14th.
Are you tired of looking at a dirty, dusty, and cracked garage and looking for a fresh new look? Hi, this is ESPN Milwaukee's Jen Ladd, and I'm here to tell you about Floor Shield by Showtime Floors. Using a state-of-the-art coating 4 times stronger than traditional epoxy, it's tough enough to be used in military bases and airports. Floor Shield is certified as an anti-slip floor and also eco-friendly, all while being UV stable, and my favorite part, easy to clean. This makes it perfect for outdoor spaces, just like your patio. Check it out at ShowtimeFloors.com and work with a specialist to transform your space in as little as one day.
If you're looking for a truck, go to the source. Ewald Automotive is Milwaukee's truck headquarters. No matter what you're shopping for, we've got them all. Ford, Ram, Chevy, GMC. All backed by our low price guarantee with savings up to $10,000. We'll even pay you $2,500 over book value for your trade. Plus, drive away with Ewald's exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Why shop anywhere else? Shop now at ewaldauto.com. See dealer for complete details.
Brad Nortman here. Catch me on KBN, weekdays from 2 to 5. 94.5 ESPN is WKTI and WKTI HD Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
Speak out to connect and be entertained. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 7 o'clock, it's 63 degrees and cloudy. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Jack Grau. After decades without answers, authorities have identifications.
We're gathered here today to announce the clearance of a several decades-old homicide.
That murder involved 19-year-old Diane Olkwitz, stabbed over 100 times at the Kenworth manufacturing facility in Menominee Falls in 1966. 5 years later, Terry Erdman was found dead in a northwest Milwaukee field. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul said forensic investigative genetic genealogy, developed in 2019, was key in identifying Clarence Marcus Tappendorf as the killer in both cases.
This technique combines genetic testing with traditional genealogical research to generate investigative leads in unsolved violent crime cases.
Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
New federal funds could help low-income Wisconsinites prepare for the cold.
Over $100 million in funding for the LIHEAP program is coming to Wisconsin ahead of this winter. White House Infrastructure Coordinator Mitch Landrieu tells WTMJ the funding can be used to help weatherize your house.
Lots of things that contractors can do along with experts to make sure that the house is tightened up and is energy efficient.
We Energy spokesman Brendan Conway tells WTMJ key things to do include changing your furnace filter and making sure it's running efficiently. And he says starting early is key.
Take some steps now to make sure that you're keeping the cold air out in the winter, the warm air in, because if you're not, you're just spending money and it's going out the door, going out the window.
Wyatt Barmar-Pooley, WTMJ News.
The family of Travis King says their son hasn't shared with them what happened while he was detained in North Korea. King's mother, Claudine Gates, telling Good Morning America, Lindsay Davis, they still don't know much about Travis's time behind bars overseas.
Have you all asked him, what happened while you were there in North Korea?
When we asked him, he said that he couldn't tell us what happened. He told me that the Army told him that he can't tell anybody, that he had signed the agreement with them.
King is facing numerous charges, including desertion, assaulting fellow soldiers, and possession of child pornography. A new development in the situation that happened at Kennedy Middle School on Monday. Family have identified the man shot and killed by Germantown police on Monday night as 32-year-old Kevin Foy of Lake Villa, Illinois. Our news partners at TMJ4 were able to speak to Foy's family. They say Foy was an Army combat veteran who was struggling with his experience. His brothers saying Foy had driven up to Germantown to pick up some items he'd bought at auction as he made a living in parts by selling auctioned appliances. The family says they're grateful nobody else was hurt. And Kennedy Middle School in Germantown remains closed today, but the superintendent says in a statement, district staff are able to come back to work tomorrow, with students returning on Monday. Grief counselors are on hand to assist students in the district's other schools as they look to get back to a sense of normalcy.
Mental health expert Kate Stock says it doesn't take much for a child to be triggered.
Could be traumatic for some of them, and some of them it might be nothing.
And Stocks tells WTMJ Now trauma can affect physical health as well. She says it's important for parents at Kennedy to listen to what their children have to say about what happened Monday and to pay attention to behavioral changes.
My child seems a little bit more spacey than usual. She or he is having trouble breathing.
Stock says everyone is different, so what may not be a big deal for one kid could cause issues for another.
It's a very individual process.
Eric Bilstead, WTMJ News.
WTMJ Sports Update. It's the last day without Milwaukee Bucks basketball on a regular basis until, hopefully, another championship. The season opener is tomorrow against the Philadelphia 76ers. Tip-off at 6:30. Tune into WTMJ for all of your Bucks coverage. Taking a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver Traffic. No major complications across the Milwaukee traffic system. At this time, wherever you're driving should be a pretty easy time getting there. And it's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. It's a low of 52 this evening with some scattered showers. On Thursday, a high of 60 and scattered showers mainly in the later afternoon and evening. On Friday, a high of 58 with a chance of showers in the evening. Saturday, up to 54 with a chance of showers in the morning. And on Sunday, a high of 54 and mostly sunny. Monday, a high of 57. It is 61 degrees and foggy in Madison over in Green Bay. It's 53 degrees with fog. Waukesha, 60 degrees and cloudy here in Milwaukee. It is a nice 63 degrees with some clouds in the sky. I'm Jack Grau, WTMJ News Time 7:05.
After a long and highly anticipated wait, Bucks basketball is back.
Here's a lob up top to Giannis, and Giannis stuffs it down on the alley-oop. Oh, the Greek freak coming through in crunch time.
And we're getting you set for another run of the Larry O'Brien Trophy. This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show. Now, here's your host, Justin Garcia.
It is hour number 2 of the season preview edition of Bucks Talk. We caught up with Ben Golliver earlier in the show. We will hear from Chad Dewing of Rip City Radio a little bit later in hour number 2 here. But joining us now, you can hear her on the Technical File podcast and starting next week on the Locked On Bucks podcast as well. Camille Davis joining us to take a look at this upcoming season. Camille, I guess we'll start with tomorrow's opponent. Scale of 1 to 10, your level of surprise that James Harden will not be on the floor for tomorrow's game? Sixers in town tomorrow evening, first game of the season, and not a total shock what we saw come out of there. I think the big back and forth was, first there was a report that James Harden was in fact going to travel to Milwaukee. Then we saw an update to that report. Chris Haynes, Woj, and Shams all reporting on this, that, oh, wait, not so fast. He's not going to travel. We have asked him to remain back with the team. And we will not see James Harden tomorrow evening. Not a surprise, I think, to a lot of us as you saw the last 2 weeks or 10 days unfold. And look, I know it's easy to pile on James Harden, and especially after the Harden v. Giannis MVP campaign debate from years ago. James Harden doesn't have a whole lot of fans here. James Harden doesn't have the greatest track record in terms of handling exits from franchises. We should also point out, in the interest of fairness, there is a health issue that's going on with James Harden's mother. That is part of why he has been excused from the team, or was away from the team, I should say, for the time being. But this is already dragged into the regular season. And it puts the 76ers in an interesting spot because you still have Joel Embiid in his prime. You still have Tyrese Maxey, who showed you some great signs last year. And a lot of people, and people that used to play with him as well, JJ Redick the latest, saying, look, I think there's going to be a big step forward from Tyrese Maxey this upcoming season. So you have those two pieces. You have some decent role players around them. But when you look at what the Bucks did and what the Celtics did, they clearly passed you. And I think if you did not have Joel Embiid on your roster, you would probably, and also if Daryl Morey wasn't your general manager or team vice president, I believe Elton Brand is the general manager, but nonetheless, if Daryl Morey wasn't in your front office and he didn't already have Joel Embiid, I think you would look at it and say, well, we're not catching Milwaukee. We're not catching Boston. we should probably pivot. But it puts the Sixers in a precarious spot because now what we were talking about in hour number one, all the chatter about Giannis prior to him signing that extension. What does this mean for Giannis? Well, if things remain as is in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid is going to be the next guy that starts to give that chatter. So that is certainly a situation worth monitoring in Philly. But what we do know is no James Harden for tomorrow's game. Why don't we do this? We're sorting through some technical issues, waiting on our guest here. We'll step aside. When we come back, I promise, Camille Davis from the Technical Foul and Locked On Bucks podcast will join us. Season preview edition of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
You're listening to Bucks Talk, the season preview.
For those who just can't wait for Black Friday, head over to Fleet Farm today for great Black Friday Now deals. Like a free battery pack with Milwaukee heated jackets, in-store only. Or 40% off all men's Field and Forest flannel. And don't miss our trick-or-treating event on Saturday, October 28th from 10 till noon. With treats for the first 200 kids and gift cards for best costumes. Enjoy Black Friday savings now at Fleet Farm. Home of everything you need for everyday life.
Tired of power outages disrupting your life? Make them a thing of the past by getting a Generac home standby generator from Adams Generators. Adams Generators is the largest and #1 rated Generac dealer in Wisconsin. With 24/7 emergency support, our factory-trained technicians are standing by to assist you. Visit adamspower.com/generators to make sure your power always stays on. That's adamspower.com/generators.
Q Club of Wisconsin is the hangout spot for watching sports, playing games, and having some drinks. Mike, what do you have going on over there?
That's right, Gary. We've got so much going on here. And of course, you know we're your home for green and gold games every week. Plus, book our VIP area for any of your parties, which includes a private pool table, 2 shuffleboard tables, and 4 dartboards. And of course, our fish fry piled high on Wednesdays and Fridays.
All happening at the Q Club of Wisconsin, North Grandview Boulevard in Waukesha. Check out QClubofWisconsin.com.
Sunday. That's right, folks. Great Lakes Dragway's 2023 race season is in full swing. Come out to see our annual events like Memorial Day Weekend, Labor Day Weekend, Nitro Streetcar Brawl, Import Wars, Larry's Fun Fest, and Bug Fest. Looking for something new and exciting? Come see the Night of Fire Jet Show. Want the track all to yourself? Email or call about a private track rental. Go to GreatLakesDragaway.com for contact information and our full season schedule. Great Lakes Dragaway, just a burnout west of I-94 on County KR. Be there.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
Can't be contained, so pick me from the dark and pull me from the grave. 'Cause I still feel alive. It is hopeless. I start to notice that I still feel alive. Falling forward, back into orbit. Yeah. So when I lose my gravity in this sleep.
Season preview edition of Bucks Talk as we get you set for the season opener tomorrow night. Bucks welcome the Sixers to town. And again, no James Harden. Not a surprise there. And we're good. All right. Well, I've done enough tap dancing for the evening. Joining us now, as I said before, you can hear her on the Technical Foul podcast and the Locked On Bucks podcast. Camille Davis joining us. So, Camille, when you saw the news this morning, that James Harden will not be on the floor tomorrow, a scale of 1 to 10, your level of surprise was what?
Not too much, to be completely honest with you, because this offseason has been somewhat of a mess for the 76ers. From the moment that James Harden had his press conference over in China mentioning the fact that Daryl Morey was a liar, And
repeating it several times, too.
Yes, and that he would never play for that franchise ever again. At that point, I knew they were going to be in some type of trouble come this season. And as things have gone along, I mean, we saw how things went with Harden trying to get out of Houston. We saw how things went with him trying to get out of Brooklyn. And now he is in Philly and unhappy once again. And didn't know exactly how it would shake out, but I knew that there would be some form of disarray with this team because of that. So to hear that he's not playing isn't a surprise. It's just kind of like what in the world is going to continue to happen in Philly?
So we've spent so much time and attention on the Bucks and the Celtics only, and I think we kind of did the same thing last year. But you understand why when you bring in Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard. But what do you make of this Philadelphia team? Because they're clearly not in the same level as the Bucks and the Celtics as currently constructed. And when you look around at, James Harden wants to play for the Clippers, I don't want to doubt Daryl Morey, but I just don't see what's out there that's going to put them at that same level, which is the difficult part is you got Joel Embiid in his prime. So on the one hand, you do feel like, are we underselling the 76ers? But on the other, we've seen their track record. I just don't know what you bring back that's a fair trade for Harden.
I don't know either. And without Harden, it's really a one-man show. I know they like Tyrese Maxey, and Maxey has flashed. And with the roster that they have and new coach Nick Nurse, I already had some questions around how that might play out, especially since Nick Nurse is known to be somebody who will play his guys heavy minutes throughout the regular season. And we have seen Joel Embiid have some health issues over the past few years. So I was unsure on just a coach to roster level, how this might look and how this might work. And if you throw in a roster here without James Harden, for as many problems that come with him, he fit very well next to Joel Embiid. He facilitated very well. He's able to take pressure off of Embiid when necessary, even though that now in Philly, he's leaned into more of that facilitator role. We all know that James Harden can put up points quick and in a hurry, and we have seen him, at least last year, start taking a few more shots in the mid-range as well, just to try to do whatever he can to help that offense function. So without Harden, I just don't see Philly as a true contender. They'll be a team that, can make your life difficult on a night-to-night basis, but when it comes down to a 7-game series, I wouldn't put any money on Philly.
One of the other interesting parts of tomorrow's game is it kind of sneaks up on you, is you got Adrian Griffin coaching his first game as the man and head coach. I know he had done some interim stuff with the Raptors when Nick Nurse was out in the past, but this is his first game as the head coach. And it's against Nick Nurse, the guy that he spent a lot of his assistant career under. So you have that to look forward to tomorrow night. We just talked about where Philadelphia ranks in the Eastern Conference, or where we think they're going to be now. All the talk around the Bucks and the Celtics. If I told you the 1 seed or the 2 seed, one of those top 2 seeds, it's not going to come from one of those two teams, who would be the team that you would see as most likely jumping up into that conversation with one of the best regular season records?
That's a great question. I would actually probably say Cleveland, another team that, last year they had a strong regular season. Now, whether that, translates into postseason success is another story. But when just looking at the regular season and racking up wins, I could definitely see it being Cleveland with that lethal backcourt that they have over there. And they also have those bigs behind the guards with Mobley and Allen, who can clean up a lot of mess. Now, a problem that they had with Cleveland last year was just trying to find a guy in that third spot, and this offseason they made some moves to try to fix that. And I just think they're built to have a strong regular season. Now, if the question was around who do I think the best, third best team is in the East, the answer would be a little bit different than who I think might be able to finish in one of those top 2 seeds.
Final thing that I have for you here, Camille, is we've talked about the Bucks, the Celtics, the 76ers. Looking at this Bucks team, and we've all kind of dreamt about, man, wouldn't it be if we could get Damian Lillard in Milwaukee and the pairing with he and Giannis? Well, now it's finally here. The number of points per game that those two guys are going to average combined is going to be what?
You got two guys who are near 30-point game guys. who both had very high usage rates last year, and now they have to work a bit together. So neither will have the ball in their hand as much as they did last year in all likelihood. I would probably put that over-under for their combined points this year at about 50, 52. Somewhere in there feels about right to me.
52, okay. Not the 60 or 60-plus that I think everybody is salivating over as these two guys, as you mentioned, 30-point guys. But I'm going to be curious with that 52 number to see what Giannis's usage is. And I think we've all said, man, Giannis has the ability to have another MVP season, and he does. But I wonder how much of that is going to be on the defensive end. So it sounds like that's what you're leaning towards as well. As I mentioned, you can hear on the Technical Foul podcast and one of the hosts of the Locked On Bucks podcast as well, Camille Davis. Always good to catch up with you, Camille.
You as well. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, that is Camille Davis. When we come back, mention a little bit about Damian Lillard, somebody that covered all of Damian Lillard's career thus far, gives us the inside scoop on Dame the player and Dame the person off the court. We will catch up with Chad Dewing from Rip City Radio in Portland after this. It's the season preview show of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Freddie Coleman.
The Michigan sign stealing scandal continues to be big news. And I said it last week and I'll say it again. It's because of one name. And his name is Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of Michigan football. Undefeated, a team that has all the makings of being a national champion, but this is all the makings of pushing Jim Harbaugh out the door and back to the National Football League. I also found it interesting that Deion Sanders, Colorado head coach, when somebody asked about the whole deal, and he said,
everyone's trying to get an edge. I mean, everyone's trying to get whatever edge they can.
Every edge they can, which means that Deion Sanders was telling you everybody does it, but yet they're zeroing in on one guy. Jim Harbaugh, because he's Jim Harbaugh. He's been involved in a couple of things before. I can't wait to see exactly where this leads. Probably to nowhere, but it's going to lead somewhere. And somewhere is going to be Jim Harbaugh going back to the NFL. In 60 seconds, the NBA has a new term for its players.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
So with all the kerfuffle involving load management and players and teams and fans when it comes to the NBA, we're about to have a new term that'll be kind of a different term of load management. And that is called minutes restrictions, because that came to the forefront in the game last night between the Los Angeles Lakers against the Denver Nuggets. LeBron James, playing in his 21st NBA season, put on a minutes restriction, whether he wants it or doesn't want it. But after the game, he kind of said, well, my numbers were good for the time I was out there. This may be a great way for people not to complain about load management if it's a different kind of load management. Everybody knows the story, that load management term, and that means that players are not going to play in certain games. Teams are going to rest them because of Players League. Well, now they'll be able to kind of do that in the game. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad, but it may be the case, and not just with LeBron James or any other star player in the NBA. For the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Freddie Coleman.
Bucks Talk, the season preview show continues.
Rolling along here on Bucks Talk, the season preview. Bucks welcome the 76ers to town tomorrow night as they tip off the 56th season of Milwaukee Bucks basketball. We expect Giannis to be on the floor for the Bucks. We know James Harden will not be on the floor for the 76ers. We also expect Damian Lillard to be on the floor for the Bucks for one reason: a big move in the offseason. One of the biggest moves in the NBA in the offseason, and certainly the biggest for the Bucks, was the addition of Damian Lillard, and no one better to join us now to fill us in on Damian Lillard and that experience for the last decade than Chad Doing from 620 Rip City Radio in Portland. Chad, thanks for joining us today, and I guess we'll start there. What were the last few months like for people in Portland and Blazers fans, knowing Damian Lillard is very likely moving on and just coming to grips with that?
Well, really, it's a period of mourning. Dame is one of the greatest trailblazers, if not the best trailblazer of all time. He was closely connected to the fan base and really made an effort to make Portland his own, and he embraced the local area, and people in Portland love their own. And the fact that he showed love to the area and brought his family there from Oakland and really set up shop was incredible. So to see that things were heading in this direction, and then when he finally made the trade demand, I think people were shocked because they thought he was going to be in Portland for his entire career. And I think the other thing that made it difficult in terms of adjusting to the idea of Dame being moved was, the franchise, their language ever since Joe Cronin took over as general manager. They had talked about building around Dame, trying to make a big move to add pieces to where they could make a championship run with Dame, and it never materialized. And so when he asked for the trade, the majority of fans were very upset because they love Dame. I think there were a few fans who understood that might have been the right move for the franchise long term because they could get young assets to be able to start a full rebuild. But you're talking about there's three players in franchise history. It's Bill Walton, Clyde Drexler, and Dame. And now one of the all-time greats is gone. So it's difficult for a lot of Blazer fans.
I want to get to the fit in some ways for Dame and Dame, the basketball player, in just a second. But you mentioned the trade requests and everything else. And for the longest time, we all assumed it was going to be Miami. And then you just started to see things slow down and you started to wonder, well, maybe he'll go elsewhere. Teams like the Raptors and Nets started to check in. I heard about the trade from a notification through Discord of people saying, well, in what world do the Bucks have the package to land Damian Lillard? And I assumed it was just a hypothetical. It wasn't until you saw more messages pour in. So it certainly caught me off guard, and I think a lot of us here as well. But for you, when you heard that news, the reaction that it was Milwaukee and the reaction to the package that he brought back were what?
Well, one, I was just like you, and I think everyone else. Milwaukee was not a team that was discussed, had been rumored, or we even thought was a possibility that Dame could go to. That materialized and came together at the very last moment. So my reaction to where Dame went was like, that's a better fit in Milwaukee, with Giannis and Middleton and the guys he's got around him. So a great fit for Dame. On paper, it looks perfect, and he's got a chance to win a championship. But more importantly, compared to Tyler Hero and the meager package of picks that Miami was reportedly offering up, to be able to get back the haul that the Blazers got in that deal, to get multiple picks, to get Drew Holiday, to wind up with DeAndre Ayton and be in a position to now where they can go out and continue rebuilding the roster and have access to younger assets. I think the Blazers as a franchise in a much better spot. And for Dame, I think the fit in Milwaukee with Giannis is a better fit than the one in Miami. I know why he wanted to go to Miami. He likes the area, respects the coaching staff, Pat Riley, and of course he's very good friends with Bam and Jimmy Butler, but he's also tight with Giannis. So I don't think Dame expected Milwaukee. I think the Blazers were just willing to be patient and wait to see what they could get elsewhere in the market, and it materialized. I think Miami went into it with the idea that the market for Dame wasn't going to be there. They didn't want to bid against themselves. They made their offer. The Blazers thought it was ridiculous, so they remained patient, and then other teams jumped in at the last moment, and they were able to get the deal done with Milwaukee.
All right, so let's talk about the actual player that the Bucks are getting here, and I think it's funny seeing a lot of the reactions of, yeah, but Dame isn't a two-way player, as if this is news, and also the level of offensive player that he is. The Bucks are betting, look, that offsets the defensive issues that we may incur. Offense has been the problem for the Bucks for the last 5 years. They won a title despite a pretty bad offense, which may be hard to believe when you say, well, they got Giannis, they got Chris Middleton, but the half-court offense was bad for the last 3 years especially. So Dame fixes that. he did go out of his way at media day to say, look, I think I'm a much better defensive player than people give me credit for. At the same time, I know I'm not Drew Holiday. So if the scale is worst defender in the league to Drew Holiday, where does he fall? Is it somewhere in the middle or even lower than that?
Yeah, it's lower than that. He's not a good defender. Not even close. That's just not his game. And to be honest with you, never really too worried about that because he's going to give you 30 points a night. And would I rather Dame expend his energy trying to carry the team on offense, which they needed, or take away from the offense, which was desperately needed, and focus more on defense? He is an offensive-minded guard. He is a terrific shooter. He's a clutch player. He can knock down the three. He's great in the pick and roll. He's going to enhance everything offensively. And my whole point with the defense is that, yes, he's not a good defender, not even close to it. But this is where the franchise failed him from the standpoint that for the majority of his time in Portland, he was next to C.J. McCollum, didn't have a legitimate rim protector, did not have good 3-and-D players at the forward spots. And so he didn't have the protection that was around him necessary to run with the smaller backcourt, similar to how Steph Curry has been surrounded by great defenders in Draymond and Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala and Andrew Bogut, guys who could allow him to be what he is and give him the support defensively. And I think for Dame, going to Milwaukee, he's going to have that support in Giannis, in Middleton, in Lopez, guys who can, provide the extra defense to allow him to be what he is. And I go back to Dame's first couple of years in the league when the Blazers were very good. They had LaMarcus Aldridge, they had Robin Lopez, they had Wesley Matthews and Nick Batum. No one complained about Dame's defense in the beginning because he was surrounded with the proper roster, with guys who could defend multiple spots and provide him with protection. And that's what he's going to have in Milwaukee is, the right length and the size around him to where, his defensive liability is not going to be a problem because the Bucks can make up for that. And that's the type of roster you need to have if you're going to have a smaller backcourt like the Blazers had, and they just couldn't get it done.
One more thing before I let you go. So we talked about the actual trade. Joe Cronin was a guy that took so much heat the last few months leading up to that deal. And I think immediately, too, similar to what I said, I thought about the deal initially. I think at first, too, people thought, man, is this just out of spite that he's doing this? I know there was a piece that came out shortly after the trade that was very favorable to Damian Lillard from the player side. But now that more time has passed and you see what the Blazers have gotten back and how they've continued to replenish things and build with a young core now, what's the general perception of Joe Cronin in those parts? And has that changed at all?
Yeah, I think the majority of fans are happy with Cronin's patience, the work, and what he was able to get in return. The big concern going into this whole deal was, the Blazers don't have a true ownership right now. They're run by a trust. With Paul Allen's passing, his sister Jody's in charge of it, and Burt Cold, who is the Trailblazers chair, he was a longtime roommate of Paul Allen. He's the one that's got the majority of power and is, kind of navigating the franchise. The fear was without the leadership of Paul Allen at one of the most important crossroads of the franchise was, would they be able to handle the situation? The thought going in to the summer after Dame made the trade request was that the Blazers were going to get duped and really worked over by Pat Riley. And it turned out that the Blazers actually handled the situation well. I think they were offended at the offer the Heat made it initially, and they remained patient and got the most in return. So I think, by and large, I think Blazer fans are happy and never going to be fully satisfied knowing that Dame is elsewhere, but that they can watch him make a run for a championship with the Bucks, knowing that the Blazers now in a much better position moving forward to where they can retool the roster because they have more cap flexibility. They've got more trade pieces. They've got a stockpile of draft picks. And before the Dame deal went down, the cupboard was bare in terms of assets. So if you look at the entire package, I think fans are impressed and pleased with the work of Joe Cronin. I think the big issue or rub is the Blazers' motives. They talked about building around Dame and, they're all in with Dame, and they said that for over a year. But every move they made was the exact opposite of that. They went young, and they traded away veterans, and they brought in more. They wanted to go younger and bring in the assets. So fans wonder if he was really being serious about building around Dame or if the plan from the get-go was to go young and move off of Dame. But it's in the past now. And I think what they got in return, I think Blazer fans can be happy about, and they appear to be, for the most part, pleased. And now it's a matter of, coaching the young guys and getting them up to speed and seeing where this, new group of players can go. And I'll say this to the Buck fans out there. Dame is a pleasure to cover as someone in our business. He's great with the media. He's open and honest. And for a global superstar, he's got a large dose of humility, which is nice. He's a terrific teammate. He's great in the locker room. And he's very loyal. So, he comes from Oakland. He's loyal to his family, his friends, those who have put trust in him and taken a chance on him. So I know that the Buck fans are going to really enjoy getting a chance to watch him play and the work he'll put in and night out. An unselfish player and just a unique in today's NBA with the way he operates and the way he works. So you're going to enjoy him. And for all the Blazer fans, we have someone to cheer for come postseason time. Fear the deer. I think the Bucks have a great shot to win the title, and I'll be pulling for him.
Chad Dewey, you can hear him on 620 Rip City Radio in Portland. Always great to catch up with you. We'll do this again before the Bucks and the Blazers play in the regular season.
That sounds great. That's going to be the hot ticket item in Portland is when Dame makes his return. I appreciate having me on and enjoy the season. You guys are going to have a fun one.
Yeah, hot ticket item in Portland, and it'll be interesting here, too, relatively early in the season, about a month in, that the Blazers come to Milwaukee on a Sunday. We'll get you caught up in that score in New York as it's getting closer now between the Knicks and the Celtics, and continue to preview the season and tomorrow's matchup with the Sixers after this. It's the season preview of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
Hey, this is Steve.
ESPN Wisconsin's Mark Tauscher here for my friends at Kohler Services. Have you been thinking of updating your bath or shower? Well, Kohler Services is a local end-to-end bath and shower design and remodel service brought to you by Kohler, a family-owned business in Wisconsin for 150 years. Kohler is the only manufacturer offering fast, professional installation and care for life. Start enjoying your bath or shower right now with a special offer. Visit KohlerServicesWI.com to request your free quote and tell them that I sent you. Again, that's KohlerServicesWI.com.
Don't put your life on hold to earn a degree. Lakeland University has a long history of making students' dreams come true. Since 1862, build a schedule that meets your needs with options for 7 and 12-week courses, evening classes, and the ability to join classes remotely. Lakeland University is Wisconsin's leader in evening and online education. They have a main campus in Sheboygan County and 6 centers throughout the whole state. Lakeland University, affordable, quality, flexible. Find out your next steps at info.lakeland.edu.
Wisconsin is still cattle country, and that's why Bunzel's chose to stay close to home to hand select the finest beef. Quality goes into everything they do, from Bunzel's expansive array of meats, homemade specialty sausages, and their award-winning beef jerky. It just isn't a proper holiday meal without Bunzel's top quality cuts on the dinner table. Tasting is believing. Bunzels.com.
It's Chevy truck season, and with a Chevy Silverado, there's no such thing as an uphill battle. With a Chevy Silverado, you can take on the mountains, or you can move them. Because with impressive towing capability, an available 13.4-inch diagonal touchscreen, and the choice of powerful engines to pick from, whatever your mountain, there's a Silverado with the capability you need. Visit WisconsinDriveChevy.com.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling, patent pockets. You take the dollar, can a damn soul stop it? Here comes the new kid on the block. Hold all your bets, here's where the buck stops. See, first of all, I'm stepping out on my own. About time I elevated the...
All right, I mentioned it's getting closer in New York, so the season opener for the Celtics is at Madison Square Garden against the New York Knicks, and it's down to 12 now. Celtics look really good. It's one game. You can't overreact. If we caution during the NFL season, don't overreact to 1 week. We already started to see it last night. Well, I think Devin Booker's put himself in the MVP conversation. Is anybody going to beat the Nuggets? But this Celtics team thus far looks as good as we assumed they would be. And look, if we just look at the Bucks versus the Celtics, part of you doesn't want to get too far ahead of yourself because, again, the old adage about best laid plans. And I still expect moves to be made throughout the course of the season. James Harden is going to get traded. I think we all assume it's going to be to the Los Angeles Clippers. But the Sixers are going to look different. Celtics are probably going to do something as well. They have a trade exception. They have a lot of draft picks that they can trade. Those are the two big advantages they have over the Bucks. So the Celtics can still do some things. Finding matching salary, though, is where it's going to get different. But you have teams like the Cavaliers who added some role players over the offseason. The Miami Heat are another team. Keep an eye on. When you see all of these guys that they missed out on, what does Tyler Hero look like? We know he's motivated coming into the season, but also, we said keep an eye on what happens with Philly. Keep an eye on what happens with the Cavs, too, with Donovan Mitchell, who also has a big decision to make and has not signed an extension. You could still see some stars on the move, and those are the teams that would seem to make the most sense. But when we look at the Bucks and the Celtics, so if we want to throw all of that logic out the window and say I'm willing to look too far ahead and to set myself up for pain. What the Celtics possess more than any other team in this league is the ability to defend 1 through 4 rather easily. Now, I'm still in the I'll believe it when I see it mode with Kristaps Porzingis, not only defensively, but staying healthy. You would have to assume at some point Al Horford is going to start to regress. But he still gives you the ability to switch and defend multiple positions out there for a big man. They just lost a lot of depth in the front court. And I know they look at it like we can play differently now. We can play Horford and Porzingis together. That's not how they started the game tonight. Al Horford came off the bench. But Robert Williams, I know he missed a lot of time. He was a big piece for them defensively. And it's the Celtics' defense that really took them places. They had more than enough offense. It was the opposite of the Bucks. Bucks had more than enough defense. They didn't have enough offense. And that is what boils down to, for me, the big change and the big difference between these two teams. You can tell me, how are the Celtics going to defend Giannis? And that's why I said they can defend 1 through 4. I'm going to count Giannis as a 5 in this example. How are the Celtics going to defend Giannis? And I don't have an answer for you. I can't sit here and tell you they'll do this or this or this. Robert Williams is gone. That's a body you could throw out there in front of him. Al Horford, we just said, the age issues. When is he going to start to decline and break down? Marcus Smart was the guy that defended Giannis quite a bit last year. He's also gone. Grant Williams took Giannis quite a few reps. He's gone. There just isn't an easy fix or an easy button out there for the Celtics to defend Giannis. I get that. But my counter to you and why, as I just said, I don't think either of these two rosters are finalized just yet. My counter would be the Celtics could very easily say, well, how are the Bucks going to defend our perimeter? Their best perimeter defender is on our team now, and he's our 4th, some nights 3rd offensive option. Who's going to take Jason Tatum? Who's going to take Jaylen Brown? Who's going to take Drew Holiday? The Bucks are putting a lot of faith in Malik Beasley. And if it works out, and if Malik Beasley can defend to the level that they think he can, and that frankly Adrian Griffin hopes he can. We talked about Chris Middleton being an X factor of sorts. Malik Beasley may be the biggest X factor for the Bucks this season for that reason. You need some perimeter defense. And the thing that concerns you about the Celtics is not just how they can throw bodies out there. They can't defend Giannis. We've established that. We've seen Drew Holiday defend Damian Lillard quite well in the postseason before. They have Derek White. That backcourt, by the way, with Drew Holiday and Derek White, good luck. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are both capable defenders, so they have that defense where the Bucks lack it. And look, It may ultimately boil down to this. The Bucks went a long ways in addressing this with Malik Beasley and with Dame Lillard. But if we talk about Giannis feasting against this defense, which he should on paper, there are going to be some struggles to defend that perimeter offense for the Celtics. And last I checked, 3 points are worth more than 2. So I think that is why it's not Milwaukee hatred, but I think that's why you'll see a lot of pundits going with the Boston Celtics. I say that, but interestingly, we saw the opposite from the four-letter network that everybody seems to loathe the most in ESPN's predictions for the season. We'll fill you in on that and do another score check on what's going on around the league. 12 games tonight on this second night of the NBA season, and a couple of rather interesting ones. We'll get you updated on that and run through the predictions after this. It's a season preview edition of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
You're listening to Bucks Talk, the season preview.
Take a drive to the Golden Mast Inn this fall, overlooking Okachi Lake. Golden Mast Inn has been family-owned and operated for over 50 years in beautiful lake country. Experience lakeside dining featuring hand-cut steaks, fresh seafood, a small plate menu, and German family specialties. Enjoy happy hour, half-off drinks Tuesday through Thursday, 4:30 to 6, and live music Friday and Saturday nights in the lounge. And don't forget Friday Fish Fry and the amazing champagne brunch on Sundays from 10:30 until 2. Golden Mast Inn is your place on the lake.
Tired of power outages disrupting your life? Make them a thing of the past by getting a Generac home standby generator from Adams Generators. Adams Generators is the largest and #1 rated Generac dealer in Wisconsin. With 24/7 emergency support, our factory-trained technicians are standing by to assist you. Visit adamspower.com/generators to make sure your power always stays on. That's adamspower.com/generators.
Announcing the former All-Star Buick GMC is now the all-new Cunis Buick GMC of Oak Creek. And the former John Paul's Buick GMC is now the all-new Cunis Buick GMC of Greenfield, Milwaukee's Buick GMC headquarters. Greg Cunis was recently named Time Magazine's Wisconsin Automotive Dealer of the Year. Plus, Cunis dealerships have been awarded Top 100 Best in the U.S. by the Automotive News the past 9 years. Our mission is to bring the Cunis Auto Group's unequaled customer satisfaction and service to our friends in the greater Milwaukee area. Cunis Milwaukee Buick GMC stores have the area's largest pre-owned car, truck, and SUV inventory with over 3,000 vehicles available on lot or online and always at a price and payment you can afford. And all new and pre-owned Cunis vehicles come with our exclusive no-fear lifetime warranty coverage at no extra charge. So buy like a champion at the all-new Cunis Buick GMC of Oak Creek, 7020 South 27th Street, or Cunis Buick GMC of Greenfield, 3615 South 108th Street. Milwaukee's Buick GMC headquarters.
We all share the same roads, but when an accident happens, we don't always share the same consequences. Big trucks can cause big damage. Injuries can be severe and may require a lifetime of care and compensation. Call Gruber Law Offices today. We can help you from the safety and comfort of your own home. Our virtual sign-up process is quick and easy. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
For those who just can't wait for Black Friday, head over to Fleet Farm today for great Black Friday Now deals. Like a free battery pack with Milwaukee heated jackets, in-store only, or 40% off all men's field and forest flannel. And don't miss our trick-or-treating event on Saturday, October 28th from 10 till noon, with treats for the first 200 kids and gift cards for best costumes. Enjoy Black Friday savings now at Fleet Farm, home of everything you need for everyday life.
You're listening to Bucks Talk, the season preview.
From ESPN, a network that I think, I don't know if I would say despise, but most Bucks fans, especially after the last couple of weeks, don't really feel that great about. You got people printing receipts on Brian Windhorst. But ESPN does their annual, let's gather all of our roving beat reporters and start to pull together their predictions for the upcoming season. So we'll do this conference by conference, and we're going to ask you the simple question The conference finals, the two teams that play and the result will be what? So, for the Eastern Conference, there were 12 names surveyed. Of those responses, we saw 4 teams chosen to win the Eastern Conference. 12 people surveyed. They came up with 4 teams that would win the East. 2 teams each got 1 vote. Bobby Marks, who was the first, by the way, to point out, I know we're all shocked by this Giannis extension news. Here's why he's actually signing it now, that this gives him the ability to sign 3 contracts because of the over 38 rule. So Bobby Marks was the first to point that out, but Bobby Marks was one of those 2 people that went off the board. His choice for the Eastern Conference Finals was the New York Knicks beating the Boston Celtics in 7. A matchup we are seeing tonight, by the way, the season opener for both teams. The other of those names, Israel Gutierrez, sideline reporter for ESPN in Miami, chose the Miami Heat to beat the Bucks in 6. Sacrilegious if the Bucks are going to lose in a conference finals to the Miami Heat of all teams to suggest that it would happen in 6. So there's 2 of the 12 out of the way. The other 10, ESPN, the place that allegedly hates the Bucks. 6 of their remaining 10 beat reporters chose the Bucks to win the conference, beating the Boston Celtics in each of those responses. Jerry Bembry, Bucks over Celtics in 6. Jamal Collier, who covers the Bucks as part of his ESPN coverage. He's the Central Division reporter for the Bucks, the Pistons, the Bulls. Jamal Collier chose the Bucks over the Celtics in 7. Andrew Lopez, Bucks over Celtics in 7. Tim McMahon, Bucks over Celtics in 7. Ramona Shelburne, Bucks over Celtics in 6. And Andre Snelling's Bucks over Celtics in 6. So despite this perceived hatred, and they just don't want to look for ways to recognize Milwaukee, a majority of the ESPN beat reporters for the Eastern Conference chose the Bucks to win the East this upcoming season. This is after all those moves. This survey went out earlier this week. And it's the Bucks. If it doesn't come down to the Bucks and the Celtics, you may think, something either drastically went wrong or somebody came out of nowhere. It may not necessarily be that. I'll tell you what I mean after this, and we'll get you set for tip-off tomorrow night because, by the way, something we used to do on a weekly basis last year, it is now officially back. We will check the injury report, the first submission for the Bucks this season. We'll take a look at the injury report and wrap up the show after this. It's a season preview edition of Bucks Talk on WTMJ and ESPN Milwaukee.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
All right, Team Pella, listen up.
Thanks, John Kuhn. Customers love our products with limited lifetime warranties. Check out these big plays. Incredible innovations like blinds and shades between the glass.
No interference on that play, Coach.
And stylish windows with hidden screens that make game days a breeze.
Can it get any better?
It can. With monthly payments as low as $19 per window, $75 per patio door, and a free quote at PellaWI.com.
Let's go.
6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 10/31/2023.
If you're shopping for a new vehicle, don't miss Ewald Automotive's Model Year Closeout Sales Event. Save on remaining 2023s and get the lowest prices of the year. Shop over 400 new vehicles with savings up to $10,000. All backed by our low price guarantee and exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. 11 brands, 10 locations, one easy experience.
Go to EWaldAuto.com.
Q Club of Wisconsin is a hangout spot for watching sports, playing games, and having some drinks. Mike, what do you have going on over there?
That's right, Gary. We've got so much going on here. And of course, you know we're your home for green and gold games every week. Plus, book our VIP area for any of your parties, which includes a private pool table, 2 shuffleboard tables, and 4 dartboards. And of course, our fish fry piled high on Wednesdays and Fridays.
All happening at the Q Club of Wisconsin, North Grandview Boulevard in Waukesha. Check out QClubofWisconsin.com.
Here in Wisconsin, one name is synonymous with fantastic frozen pizza, Palermo's. For almost 60 years, Palermo's has focused on feeding Wisconsin families. And though Palermo's has grown a lot since 1964, they're still family-owned. They're still proud to call Milwaukee home. And they're still committed to making the best frozen pizza possible. From their new and improved rising crust pizzas to their guilt-free Primo thin pies, Palermo's has a delicious slice for every appetite. Find Palermo's in your local grocer's freezer food aisle. Palermo's, flavor is our family's business.
Hey, Drew Scott here, and I'm Jonathan Scott, reminding you that life's better with a home policy from American Family Insurance. They can help you get just the right protection at just the right price and help you save when you bundle home and auto. Kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It'll be just right for you. We love a custom build. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Bucks basketball is back. A new era tips off with Coach Griffin at the helm, alongside returning favorites and exciting new additions. It's Dame time, Milwaukee. Don't miss a moment of the action. From the electrifying slam dunks to the roar of 18,000 fans, all unfolding live at Fiserv Forum. Secure your seats now. Visit bucks.com/tickets and join us for an unforgettable season of Bucks basketball. There's a seat waiting for you at Fiserv Forum. Secure yours now at bucks.com/tickets.
This is Bucks Talk, the season preview show.
The Knicks had it down to 1 at one point late in the third quarter. It's now 71-66. The Celtics lead the New York Knicks in the season debut for both of those two teams. Also, we'll point out Drew Holiday, 7 points and 3 of 8 shooting in his Celtics debut. First injury report of the season is out, sort of, for the Bucks. They did not submit one. In other words, no players listed on the injury report. For the Sixers, the notable James Harden is listed as out, not with the team, returning to competitive reconditioning. So I mentioned either something goes drastically wrong or someone comes out of nowhere. If it doesn't come down to a Bucks-Celtics conference finals, that may not necessarily be the case because when you look at the over-under totals for the season this upcoming year, it is the first year I can remember where we didn't not only have any 60s or close to that, we didn't have any even fairly high or high mid 50s. A lot of 51, 52 and a half, 53 and a half, right around there. And we point this out because if you have a handful of teams finishing right around each other, it comes down to tiebreakers. The 2 and 3 line is going to remain important if the Celtics finish first or the Bucks finish first. And you have somebody fall off, that's going to change where you match up in that first round. So I do think there's a good chance, second round I should say, there's a good chance we could see a team like the Cavaliers, like even the New York Knicks, that jump up and have a record similar to what we see from either of those two teams and what that may mean for the rest of the standings. Tomorrow night, the season begins. 6:30 tip-off. Bucks host the Sixers. 6 o'clock is when our pregame coverage begins. And as always, Bucks talk. After the game, we will take your thoughts for 1 hour on the post-game show. My thanks to everybody for listening on WTMJ and ESPN. We'll talk to you tomorrow night with more Bucks basketball.
ESPN Wisconsin's Mark Tauscher here for my friends at Kohler Services. Have you been thinking of updating your bath or shower? Well, Kohler Services is a local end-to-end bath and shower design and remodel service brought